ऑल बीजेपी स्पॉन्सर्ड। अब देखिए क्या हाल किया गया है। यह है इनका लोकतंत्र का नमूना। क्या हाल किया है। मैं एक हेलमेट पहन के जा रहा था, नहीं तो आज मेरा सर दो टुकड़ा हो जाता।
Once upon a time, there was a prince. Not a particularly popular prince anymore. His kingdom had just been taken from him. But he was brave. Or he wanted to look brave, which in politics is almost the same thing. So the prince put on a helmet and walked into the street. The crowd that gathered had one word for him. One word, repeated loudly. Chor! Thief. That word has a history in this kingdom. The new rulers had used it for years in their campaigns. Bhatija Kalyan, welfare of the nephew. The crowd, it seems, had done their homework. Notice something. The crowd didn't shout at the queen, they shouted at the prince. We'll come back to that. But before we talk about the prince, we need to talk about the kingdom. Because kingdoms don't just happen, they are built. And the materials used to build them sometimes outlast the builders. 1905, the partition of Bengal. Revolutionary cells in every lane. A political culture that decided early that disagreement belonged in the street. Then the Naxalites, the rice fields, the 70s. A movement that turned ideology into physical confrontation in the most literary city in India. Then 34 years of the left front. Cadre loyalty enforced through the boot. The same boot, different color, every election. Then TMC. The muscle men who wore red switched colors. Not ideology, territory. They followed power. They always have. The kingdom changes hands. The machine stays. The materials used to build kingdoms outlast the builders. That is the rule here. It has always been the rule here. Now, what actually happened? The prince announced his visit to Sonarpur, publicly. He knew it was sensitive. He went anyway. On a motorcycle, minimal security. In a state that had deployed over 2 lakh CRPF just weeks earlier during elections. The crowd gathered. Eggs, stones, shoes. Chor, chor! A hand came forward. The crowd moved. The prince went to the ground. Surface injuries. He was hospitalized, then released. He later said the attack was pre-planned, intended to kill him. He said police had advance information and did very little with it. 5 arrests were made. Investigations began. And then, a plot twist from the other side. Senior BJP leaders pointed out that several of those arrested allegedly had links to a former TMC legislator. So, TMC says BJP planned this. BJP says it was public rage. And also, maybe TMC's own people were involved. 3 readings, 1 incident. Everyone has a version. That is either very confusing or very Bengal.
Here is the interesting part. Everyone seemed to know this was going to happen. TMC knew, which is why the visit was announced publicly. Visibility is only useful if someone is watching. The prince went in on a motorcycle, minimal protection, into a declared hostile zone. In political mythology, this is a very old move. The leader who enters the lion's den alone demonstrates 2 things simultaneously: courage and victimhood potential. The image produced is identical whether it was performance or conviction. The state police, minimal presence. Despite a state government, BJP's state government, that now controls the machinery. The same machinery that deployed 2 lakh forces during the election somehow had very few people standing on that street. When asked about the attack, BJP's Bengal president said, and this is worth reading slowly, the BJP is not involved, but this could be the outcome of the anger of locals who were tortured over the years. Not, this is wrong. Not, we will prevent this from happening again. The anger of locals who were tortured over the years. Democratic expression, essentially. He also said in a separate statement, today because we are restrained, that is why the TMC is still there. Read that twice. It's not a condemnation, it's a warning dressed up as magnanimity. 2 parties, 1 incident, both satisfied. That is either a coincidence or a Bengal speciality. Here is what nobody is quite saying out loud. The muscle men who wore red for the left switched to TMC's colors when TMC took power. Some are switching again now. Not because they believe in anything different. Because in Bengal, the apparatus follows the territory. It always has. BJP ran its entire Bengal campaign on this argument. Goons, lawlessness, fear.
TMC's Bengal. They won on that argument. They won 207 seats. And they now govern a state whose ground infrastructure operates on exactly the same logic they campaigned against. Because the infrastructure is not in the party, it's in the ground. The question is not whether BJP will use it. The question is whether anyone can govern Bengal without it. Nobody has. Not in 50 years. Not the left. Not TMC. And the evidence from the last few weeks suggests that the new management has inherited the machine whether they wanted to or not. One more detail. The day after Abhishek was attacked, TMC called a meeting, emergency, at Mamata's own residence, Kalighat. Their number 2 had just been publicly assaulted on camera. Kalyan Banerjee, the party's Lok Sabha chief whip, had also been attacked. This was the moment to close ranks, show discipline, demonstrate that the party was still a party. 60 of 80 MLAs did not show up. The party's explanation, ground duties, protests, managing the situation. Fair enough. Except, within 24 hours of that meeting, the party expelled 2 of those 60, Sandeepan Saha, Ritabrata Banerjee. Saha had asked a question, a simple one. He'd pointed out that there was a fake signature controversy, resolutions submitted to the assembly without following proper procedures. CID had already issued a notice to Abhishek Banerjee himself in connection with this probe. Saha asked, was that resolved before calling a new meeting? The answer was expulsion. 6 years. When a party's first response to internal questioning is public punishment, that is not discipline. That is a party that spent 15 years in power and forgot what internal debate looks like. They governed through compliance. Now compliance is failing, and they are reaching for the only tool they know. 60 of 80. Then minus 2 more. The number keeps moving. That is not logistics. That is a signal.
Meanwhile, the Queen. Mamata Banerjee announced a sit-in protest. June 2. Rani Rashmoni Road, Esplanade, Central Kolkata. She is going back to the street. This is where she built her entire career. Before she was Chief Minister, this was her office. The dharna, the tent, the crowds, the cameras. She ousted 34 years of left rule from exactly this kind of mobilization. The palace was taken. She returned to where she has always known how to fight. Now notice something. The crowd at Sonarpur shouted at the prince, not the queen. Something in the public imagination still sees Mamata as someone who came from the ground, who earned it. Abhishek is the one they absorbed BJP's language about. Chor, Bhatija, the heir who never had to earn it. Whether that public psychology is accurate, above our pay grade. But what it means structurally is this. TMC's most viable survival instrument is Mamata herself. Not Abhishek, not the party organization, which just showed you 60 empty chairs and responded by making 2 of them permanently empty. Just her, and the street she came from. How long a party can run on one person's legitimacy, that is a question Bengal is going to answer over the next few years. Abhishek Banerjee has taken the matter to Parliament, filed cases, demanded accountability, made it a national story, which was perhaps always the intention. Kolkata is called the city of joy. It has the densest concentration of literary tradition, philosophical legacy, intellectual culture of any Indian city. Tagore wrote here, Ray filmed here, Bose organized here, and for over a century it has resolved its political differences through the street. Both things have always been completely true. A party that promised law and order now governs a state where its opponents are mobbed on camera. A party that just lost power is expelling its own MLAs the moment they ask a question. A queen returning to the dharna because the palace isn't hers anymore. And a prince, in a cricket helmet, in the city of Tagore and Ray and Bose. City of joy? You were watching Fault Lines. I'm Abhijit.